always skip ahead past the previously on, the recap. And today's episode has one. So if you're on Netflix, you need to skip ahead to the 41-second mark or the 40-second mark. I have it on the 41-second mark because we always begin at the beginning of the actual episode. So if you need to jump ahead, I would do that right now. I'm ready to go. So if you've been here before, you know what we're doing next. If you haven't, grab your remote and have your thumb on that play button, but do not press it yet because we're going to do that at the same time. I'm opening up the Remarkist app so that I can get that time code that I just mentioned ready to go. All right. Is everybody ready?
Yeah, ready.
Yes, sir.
Ready.
Let's go.
Great.
Yes, sir.
We're all gonna press that play button on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
That's my shopping problem.
Velcro.
Leather wallets are superior.
Velcro wallets.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Velcro is just, ugh.
Wait, Velcro in general? Velcro in general is a very, very convenient technology. When you have a baby, there's a lot of Velcro in your life.
That's also about the most John Cabrera sentence I've ever heard.
But it's true. I mean, the amount of Velcro that I have to deal with on a daily basis is pretty high.
They're making Caesar take care of the big underwear.
That poor single woman.
I never thought
So Caesar wasn't in that shot, was he?
Nope.
Did we see him?
No, he was
No.
just mentioned.
Yeah, so they called Eris in to the sound department called Eris in to do that line. He wasn't needed for the actual episode or for that scene. I don't know if he's in the episode later, but they just called him into the sound studios and he just recorded that little moment and they just put it in.
They left the underwear on the counter.
Exactly.
I don't think that those were the same, but a lot of times the shopping bags that you see in TV and film, they're really expensive because they cover them in wax so they don't crinkle and mess up the dialogue.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
Interesting.
John, remind me to plan ahead and get Liz on one of these.
Do you think that she would?
She absolutely would, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, let's work on it.
Wait,
work on that
Liz
together.
as in
Yes,
Liz
please.
Torres?
Yeah, as in Liz Torres. Let's work on that
Yeah.
together. I'll chat with you afterwards. Maybe I'll give you a call today and we'll discuss what the best episode would be.
anyone got pulled with Milo?
Nick, will you be back for episode 18?
But of course.
Woohoo!
Nick, might you have any Grey Poupon? Nick, I don't think Nick actually got that, but Chris got it because Chris and I were contemporaries.
I was trying to remember the rest of the commercial. I couldn't remember what the if the person in the other car says anything.
Yeah, he says, "Might you have any Grey Poupon?" And then the other guy says,
but then does the
"What of the first?"
yeah.
I love that actress.
Me too. She's delightful.
It's just funny. It's just funny how British she is. I feel like that was probably like on purpose. Like somebody thought that would be a very funny joke.
The actress is English.
Oh yeah, no, of course.
But they all have like these affectations. It's wonderful. I love listening to them.
It's very funny.
Check out the Emily hair, John. It's big again.
We have to go balls out.
God, I love the English.
Want to find out all like that actress's resume, and I want to watch all her movies now.
She was on an episode of the show Yes Dear, which was a 2000 show as well.
I think she was in the episode of the show Dear John. It was on a long time ago.
I remember Dear John. That was a good show.
Oh, this is one of my most hated scenes.
I'm not a fan.
That's funny because it's true. That there was a lot of that going on at that time on television.
And we all know that Jackson was married to Alex Borstein, who played Sookie in the pilot.
We do.
Yes.
We do. Yeah. Nick, remember, we're in season 6, episode 7 right now. So
Episode 94.
Yeah, sorry,
Gotta catch up.
I'm rolling in the deep, and I forgot about it.
They're yelling about turning the volume down is worse than the volume being up.
That's the most annoying part.
this is such a weird joke.
I feel like the writers must have had someone obnoxious like this in their life that did this to their kids.
Yeah, because how old is Davy. I don't think that he has like the concept.
I think
of
he
a
might
remote.
be.
I don't
Two-
even. I don't even think that Davy could move forward and get.
I
the
don't think
remote
he has
again.
any idea.
I was gonna say, I
what
don't
you're
think he's even a toddler. Like he's still like
No.
infant.
Luke is just ignoring all the crazy.
Edward Herman forever and ever.
Mm-hmm.
And they work so well together. I didn't realize they had worked together previously.
His middle name is Kirk, also, by the way.
It is?
Do you think that's where Amy got?
What she tackles, she conquers.
Well, and,
John,
he
are you
has
referring to?
and Edward has a kid named Rory too.
Really?
A boy though, right?
Yeah, I believe it's a boy.
Usually it's a boy's name.
You know, I've never had a salmon puff.
You're not missing anything.
Good.
What's the what's the what she tackles, she conquers? Where's that from?
It's Faith and Rory, but I don't know where the quote.
I have a feeling I'll get it in an instant message here in a sec.
Anything related to tuna, unless it's in sushi, I hate.
On Google, Gilmore Girls is the only thing that pops up if you put that.
Really? Wow. Okay,
Yeah,
so then
pretty-
that's a meme from that. That's a phrase that I've just seen the fandom throwing around.
Yeah, it's pretty popular.
Awkward. Oh, this was so not necessary on Lorelai's end.
Oh, Lorelai.
So petty.
The grudge is strong with her.
She's not even needling. She's going in there with a hatchet.
I swear, picking a GIF for this tweet was, and I say this a lot, nearly impossible, but it really was because I didn't want to spoil it. And there was a lot of them that could have.
I hate that he's still not willing to believe that the Huntsburgers were real.
Yep.
They're
Oh,
his
speaking of,
friends. He
everyone
has a
go
hard-
check out my tweet.
I was at the Getty the other.
She has her own assistant now.
Look, what is Logan wearing? no more jackets for that guy.
I mean, he
All of it
looks
is
good
just
in
like-
anything he wears.
All of it is
so.
Eddie Bauer. It's all like Eddie Bauer type stuff now.
Yeah, season 6 Logan is apparently more laid back.
Much more
I
casual.
mean, like I said, he looks good in anything. So
And without anything. And I love the Eddie Bauer.
I'm
reference.
not commenting. That tells you anything.
Oh, Eddie Bauer.
I love Paris in season 6.
Oh no. Oh no.
Could you imagine her in an interview?
Oh, it would be crazy.
Well, we could because we heard that snippet from her Harvard interview.
Very true.
Yeah.
And she's just as neurotic.
I really do like the friendship between these two characters. Rory's always willing to help her as when
Aramaic.
Somebody did some fan fiction where her and Robert hooked up, and I have to find it and read it.
Paris and Rob,
Yes.
that would have been.
That's an interesting match.
I love that you knew about somehow.
You know, it's a goal of mine to marry a guy who can cook. I have yet to find that.
So I'm gonna go with you.
I don't like this part.
Like she doesn't see that he just wants to spend time with her.
She's pushing.
That is commitment issues. Those are commitment issues sort of bubbling up in Lorelai.
I think she's just used to
What's
being
interesting-
independent, and to have him there all the time, that would drive me crazy.
Yeah, but the fact that she like once had to drag him to town meetings, but now he's willingly going to Patty's. Now she's scared is upsetting.
Also, Rory's wardrobe has changed dramatically since she's been living here.
I think they
Because
did that
the
on
maid took
purpose.
all away.
Yeah,
They
she's like
took all-
Junior
they took-
Emily in this wardrobe.
Big time, yeah. Remember the days when you had to text tapping the numbers on your
T9.
phone like 5
Oh,
times.
Goodness. The day when slide up phones with full keyboards came out.
Oh yeah, I had one of those on the first day that those came.
I got one my junior year of high school. I still have it. It's insane. I'll take a picture and send it to the group.
I knew you could do it.
I love that Emily is like excited and supportive and not jealous of her.
Oh, I think that I'm spoiled on an image from this particular episode with Rory and Paris.
From who? Because it's not in my tweet.
No, I feel like I saw it like seasons ago and was like, I wonder when that's gonna.
You mean the
I'm
costuming?
guessing that it's this episode because there would be no other episode where that image could make sense within the context of.
You're talking about the costuming.
Yes, I am.
Assistant to the regional manager there.
Maybe Rory's supposed to be a party planner.
I don't know.
In
We
this
have to
part,
talk
'cause
about this Paris, whether or not this really tracks with the rest of the series, but it's funny.
Lorelai's side of Rory's coming out. Lorelai's a great planner too, as far as parties.
No, I said Paris. Wait,
Yeah, she was
did I
just
say
fine.
Paris or did I say Rory?
No.
You said
I
Paris.
was talking about Rory being a good party planner.
Oh yeah, that makes sense though to me.
I love Liz. She looks terrific.
I love how colorful she always
That's
is.
what I was
There's
about
so
to
much
say.
good.
That's terrifying.
Oh, I love this.
I'm the opposite. I love when they come in the audience.
I love
I
it.
hate it.
Oh, it's so fun.
How fun would it have been to see Luke experience this?
Oh my God, can you imagine?
Contrast between the two of them.
Rory looks amazing. This style suit.
Yeah, this just looks incredible. Yeah,
That
the
that
costumes
really
look
sells.
Glitter everywhere. Sorry, I'm a few seconds behind.
All right.
Ew, olives. Ugh.
This is how I see Paris working.
Be My Dave Navarro. What's that reference?
Apparently she needs her criticism right away.
Yeah, no, but why Dave Navarro?
There was a reality show called Rockstar Supernova, and he was a judge. I think that's probably what it was.
Because you know, I
Probably.
thought that they were talking about this new tattoo show that he's a judge on. And I was like, wait a second, that show's only a couple years old. So Dave Navarro's been like a judge on reality shows since back then.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Funny.
That little interaction that Paris had with that guy is like a reminder of back in season 3 when they were in DC and she was like going through all like the political people.
Oh wow, Ed.
This is one of my favorites.
Oh, ouch. It looked like Ed almost tripped there at the very beginning.
I don't know. I just love them dancing together.
Me too. They look so happy. I love it.
Oh, the
Poor
sad
Lou.
about
This is very depressing.
I got to dance with Kelly Bishop at a party once, and I'll never forget it.
Oh,
Oh my God. Wow.
I would love to dance anywhere near Kelly Bishop.
Yikes.
Remarkably edible.
Oh boy.
It's time.
Oh, the riffraff.
Oh, Shira Huntsberger. We got some Huntsberger in this.
it. Been waiting all episode for you to say it.
Ooh, this is exciting. What's gonna happen?
I've been saying that for years.
Do it. Do it. Do it.
The hair is killing it in this episode.
Just slaying it. I mean, all of the hair, the costumes, the hair is just. How did they not win an Emmy Award for this?
I love the red lipstick.
I love how Paris says I hate the rich, yet she was only rich like 5 days ago.
She's relating now. She's just relating. She's a quick turnaround there.
That last line of Paris's was 80 yard, and it was likely because dishes were clanking in the background. Ooh, hoo, hoo.
Rory's fake nice terrifies me.
Figured she'd give him the table by the toilets.
Yeah, I was expecting something similar, or at least them complaining about being too close.
She is kind of stuck up there in the corner.
Hillbilly armor, that's topical.
Yeah.
Blue Star flag right behind him.
Gee, have you ever been to an event like this?
Ooh. Yikes.
Oh no.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, yes.
There's gonna be some
yes.
fireworks
You're gonna
tonight.
get off the
I know
Hunsford.
that's right.
There you go, Jen.
Love it. Love it.
At least Richard and Emily are there this time.
Oh. That's a fan.
She's a pharmacy in her place.
Tell him. All of the Marx references are funny.
Seize the means.
Comrade Geller.
Oh, I really, really, really want a confrontation. I want a confrontation. Please give it to me.
Good things come
Give
to
it
those
to
who
me.
wait.
I feel like there's definitely going to be, but like I said, at least now Emily and Richard will be able to see it first.
Yes.
Oh
Eat
my
it.
gosh, I just remembered something. Oh,
They were pretty
this
good.
episode-
I love this.
Oh God, I just remember what it was.
I
Yes,
forgot
that's
this
what
was
I-
in this episode.
This is
This
amazing.
what I was talking about. This is what I was talking about when I said I just remembered something. How did we all forget?
Right?
Because of other things that are more.
I did not.
Oh yeah. No, I didn't forget.
Oh
Not-
god, this is terrifying.
Oh, goodness.
Yes, it is terrifying.
It's a
I,
masterpiece.
I did not know that this existed in the series.
I remember when I first watched this, that one part in this little segment haunted me in my dreams for about 2 weeks.
John, this is like one of those.
Both
things
This
headphones
that
are
part.
going
have-
on here for a second. I need to concentrate.
Kirk is just so good. This.
You see the sick Gregorian chant.
Somebody did this Kurt scene at FanFest.
That would have been a sight.
Keeping the music going. Oh, man. I wanted more of that.
Seriously, Sean Gunn is just so good in all these episodes.
I think it's best that we don't get more of that.
rough waters, bumpy road.
She still doesn't get it. Ew.
Dirty.
I wonder if anybody's put a compilation of all the innuendos made in this show.
Oof. Oh goodness. I would love to see a fan do the whole thing and show me the parts that we didn't actually see.
Sean Gunn is a miracle.
He is.
He is a treasure. Precisely.
He's a national treasure. A global treasure.
Yeah, an international treasure.
Love the outfit too that he picked.
Oh god.
Can you imagine that kid's direction? Like, just
Oh, here we go.
throw stuff at that.
Oh boy.
Oh, I did not see this coming as the way it was going to happen.
So listen.
Oh my god.
I want them to be called out.
Oh, pay attention.
Ugh.
Oh boy.
Okay, he's on to it now.
He's so short.
Guy.
Exactly.
He's got a point, but still an a-hole.
Oh, there it is.
Dun, dun, dun.
Hit him. Hit him.
Hit him. Oh.
Don't break focus yet. Don't break focus.
It gets better.
Oh, yes, it does.
Ah, good. Good.
Oof. Oh my gosh, this is very good. She does.
Oh, she gonna take care of it now.
Oh, please, Emily, do it.
Just
Emily,
wait.
do
Tag
it.
team
Oh,
action
just
here.
wait,
Do
John.
it, girl.
She just tapped in.
Did you see that
The
face?
only time I love
Yes.
Emily
I love it.
this season.
Tapped in.
Oh my god.
Tell her she needs to leave.
More ways than one. That been a good show.
No.
Ooh.
Mhm.
As if it's her money anyway.
What you're listening to. Out.
Claps for
Yikes.
Emily.
Yikes.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Clashing between the class.
And the angle of that camera, you almost forget that the other two ladies were sitting right there.
Oh, Richard.
And now he feels
Oh my
bad because
gosh,
he
this
didn't
is-
believe it.
He gets it now.
Such a
Oh.
great
He's just so
Oh
proud
my
of her.
gosh,
Oh.
this
It was
episode.
amazing.
Oh my gosh, this episode.
Like it's very
Okay,
That is
important.
my favorite.
Hold
of
on.
The whole series.
Hold on.
That is my
John,
favorite.
out of 10, what do you rate this episode?
Oh, that's an 11, 12, 13. I mean, that's one of the best episodes of the series.
Yeah, I don't like Emily in this season, but that moment, amazing.
Yeah.
Emily
I mean, it's not
rule.
even just that moment. The whole episode is just
Chris.
absolutely
It
lightning.
literally, that whole episode was literally just boiling and boiling and boiling until someone let the lid off.
Yeah, it was so
Let it
good
be
that
known.
some of us forgot about.
Let
Chris'
it be known.
performance.
Season 6, episode 14 is absolutely awesome.
I thought it was episode 85.
14.
All right, I'm opening up the couch. Please join us up here for some lively discussion.
Oh, lively is an understatement.
She, if we told you this was the episode to join. So
Oh,
glad you
yes,
did.
dude.
Yeah, that was a banger.
That was a really, really solid episode.
And let me just say, John,
First, I have to
it
say
only
good
gets-
morning, Nick.
Let me just say, John, it only gets better from here.
Oh,
And for the first time I
is-
saw that Emily and Shira thing, I rewound it and rewatched it multiple times.
I
And
would
so
just
did
like-
Jen after she watched it the first time.
One of the
It's-
I would just like to let everyone Emily did with Shira. This is a terminology that is in a certain group in the United States that is referred to. It's called a read. That was what was done. Now, hold on. Please don't interrupt because I need to clarify this. If you do not know what a read is before I told you what a read is today, do not tell me that any of my comments in the future is shade. Thank you very much. My name is Carl, and I approve this.
Thanks. You tell us that.
For me, that moment was that was an enjoyable part of the episode. Just in terms of that whole storyline. But for me, the real like that final moment, that final Richard looking at her at the stage, like almost in tears, like realizing what
How
had
she got
happened
there.
how
Like
she
maybe
got
he should
there.
have listened
Just
to Lorelai.
yeah, just like is just devastating. Is
Oh, it's
just
heartbreaking.
absolutely devastating.
Emily's saying
so
that
heartbreaking.
Emily's saying that to Shira is like in a way, and I can't describe it more because it'll be described in another episode, but it's basically her way of calling Shira like a bitch, and I love it.
It was a read.
Yeah. Okay.
So let me ask. So is he? I just need clarity on that last moment because it's burnt. It's like that's burned in my memory now. This moment, but I need clarity on it.
Which one?
Or interpretation from members here.
We're ready.
Is he looking at her with a sense of pride, like what you have done here, what you've created here is really incredible, and you are incredible, and I can't believe that this happened to you? Or is he looking at her like, look what you've been reduced to?
It would be
And-
kind of
Spoiler.
number two.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
I don't know. We
It's
don't
a,
wanna
it's a
spoil
reduction
you.
of her face plate. If you look back on the cotillion thing when he was so upset that that this wasn't the life that he wanted for Rory, that like when you look back at that his attitude during the cotillion episode, I think this is the same. He's like, oh, this is where we are again, and like this is the direction her life is taking.
I think
Some
there's
people said
there's
they're
a
trying to raise
wonderful
hands and
combination
not-
on his face of pridefulness and intense worry.
Yes. I think
He's-
it's a little bit of
you know,
both because I think
I
he kind
think-
of wishes he listened to Lorelai, but he also is very proud of her and knows that she can overcome things. But I think he's kind of sad that his friend, or who he thought was his friend, crushed his granddaughter's dreams.
I sort of took that as
Yeah.
like, he's seeing her and like, this is not like being like, this is not who you were supposed to be. And I should have trusted that what Lorelai said happened to you happened, because then this is not who you would have been right now. You would have been in college and been studying to become a journalist, which is what you want to be. And he's just like incredibly heartbroken that he knows it's not what she wants to be, but this is what she is now.
Yeah, like an event planner. Like I'm the architect
same.
of this. I'm the architect of this event. Like in the moment, kind of sounds it sounds nice and it's exciting for Emily and whatnot. But like the architect of a DAR event is not Rory, or it's not what Richard imagines for Rory. When we go back through their whole relationship, back to their first walking through the golf course in season one, that's not the Rory that he
I think he wanted more for her.
believes. Yeah, and so he's seeing that in this moment.
Emily's life, for lack of better words. He thought she was destined for more than that, and that was
Yeah.
hard for him to swallow.
Spoiler.
Right.
What?
And so he's like, yeah, right. So he's realizing that like all of that, like, she's gonna take some time off, and once she's gotten things settled, she'll go back. All of that stuff that he fed Lorelai, he's realizing now, like that's not true. Like she's fully like now getting caught into this world, and it's all because of that event. And I could have nipped this in the bud with Lorelai back when this all started, but I didn't. And now, oh no, this could be permanent.
I think he gave away the game, though. I mean, I think he gave away the game when he came out of the gents and he was like, Lorelai was right. We should have listened to Lorelai. I think that, so.
Yeah.
A lot of that really just comes down to he's got guilt, he's got shame, he's got sadness. When he looks at Rory there, it's all that. It's everything combined. It's sadness that he hadn't acted. It's sadness sort of that yes, this is what she's reduced to, instead of the pride that they had just been sharing in her, the way that she put together the event. That just sort of disappeared, right? So that part is gone, and now he's just immensely sad that she's just doing event planning, all because of the Mitchum sort of breakdown.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the fact that they gave her that job in the first place, because in the very beginning of this season, which literally was only 4 episodes, they wanted to give her a job instead of her just like lollygagging around the house and talking to maids and things like that. So, I mean, they were slightly innocent in the fact that they didn't know exactly what was going to happen when they gave her that job, like within the DAR. But at the same time, they knew right from the get-go what they were doing, and anything that they would do from that point on would be going against Lorelai and kind of digging a deeper hole that than they had with her in the first place. And so like they feel like shit, like kind of like what she was saying, like shit, like maybe we should have, but at the same time it's like I feel like they needed to go through that to realize how bad it actually was, and how Rory obviously didn't tell them the whole story, and that maybe if they did know the whole story in the first place, maybe they wouldn't have. But I can't say more because it will spoil future episodes.
What's interesting? What's that? Oh no! What's interesting though is that we now have a little bit more clarity on the Huntsberger crush moment, because now he's admitting that he's now admitting that if she doesn't, that if she does have it, that she'll bounce back, which suggests that there might have been some degree of this is a game for him, that like that he did that to her, not maybe specifically to try and see if she had it, but that he didn't really care all that much one way or the other. He was sort of saying how he felt in the moment, and does admit that, yeah, maybe she does have it. I don't know.
He did say when he told her what he thought that he might be wrong, that he's been wrong before in that initial speech to her.
Yep.
So he's never said that he was absolutely 100% right. He just feels that he is, because he feels he's that kind of businessman. But
don't forget
again,
to
him
harvest
admitting
that.
that he still could be wrong, at least there's that. He could be worse. Let's put.
And he also said in the exchange that Richard, bombarded him with, he said, if she got what it takes, she'll bounce back.
Yeah, that's what I was referencing.
Yeah, and I love that you referenced that, because we're starting to acknowledge that Mitchum will say these things, but then he'll also include like something that said, like, well, I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. Or if she got what it takes, she'll bounce back. He's not providing a definite answer.
But here's the thing. Here's the only thing I would push back on is that his reason that he gives in the restroom here with Richard, his reason is, he says, if somebody's not performing, you're not going to keep them on and make them a drain on the company, right? And he says, well, my daughter isn't a drain, so she could be, so I'm making sure that I let her go before she becomes a drain. So here's the only thing I would say is that the best way to, like, if that's really his motive, if that really is why does he need to tell her that? Like, why does he, what's the, like, if his motive is, I don't want her to be a drain on the company, all he has to do is not let her come back as an intern. He doesn't have to explain why. He can just not, she's just not there. He's like, it seems like the easiest thing in the world, right? And if he thinks that he could be wrong, that would actually be the best way to do it, right? Because if he could be wrong, then, he lets her go. And if she ends up being a great journalist, then what? No harm, no foul. But if he believes that she could potentially be a drain on his company, if that's what worries him, the speech seems to be sort of an unnecessary part of the exchange. Especially if you think you could be wrong and you think that, because then it tells me that, well, then what's the purpose of a speech like that? And then it tells me the purpose of a speech like that could be to push somebody and make that and potentially see whether or not they can bounce back from a speech like that.
Well, yeah,
John, wouldn't that be passive? That's not.
I was wondering if maybe he had a different motive too. Maybe he wasn't quite so forward as the rest of his family, but he's seeing that she's sticking around with Logan and that it's more serious. And maybe he does want her to not be working like the rest of his family, but he's just doing it a different way. So he figures he has the power in this position to kind of squash what she thought she had for ambition.
Maybe
Yeah,
he seems to be. He seems in that conversation with Richard to, and I actually got the sense to really not care one single bit about any of that. Like he didn't care about the day. Like he's focused on one thing. He cares about his business, and he is just like, that's his life. That's all he cares about. I don't think he cares one thing at all iota about whether or not somebody's right for his family and son and blah, blah. That's something his wife is all caught up into, right? But like, I think that just to answer the passive thing, I actually don't think it's passive. If you let somebody go, I think that's active. You make a decision that they will no longer be there with you. You don't need to go above and beyond and have a speech with them unless you have some other motive, which I think that there could be another motive there, but I don't know. I'm not sure. It just seems it seems unnecessarily harsh.
I don't know, like passivity doesn't help in life. I don't believe.
When he says that he could be wrong, he's been wrong before, I never took that as him actually believing he's wrong. He doesn't strike me as somebody who would ever think that they're ever wrong. I took it as he was trying to placate Richard and make Richard less upset with him. Because I feel like he probably does respect Richard.
No, he said that
it to Rory
wrong before to
yeah,
Rory.
but I think but I think what Mandy's saying applies to that too. I don't believe that he believed it. He's just telling Rory that in order to just sort of like add a little cushion.
Yeah,
What's
I
he gain
think
from
it's
that?
possible though that he really thinks he's doing or was doing Rory a favor by telling her that he felt like she didn't have it. I mean, when he says like his gut's been wrong, before, but not often. So maybe he really is just as straightforward as he is with Richard when he says like, I called it like I saw it. I was honest with her and that's it. Like for him, it really doesn't go beyond that. Maybe there really is no secondary motives there.
Yeah.
Or it sounds like what you're saying is that he actually likes Rory and that he's doing something he believes is good, is nice to her. Like in his weird way, he might be thinking, I wouldn't do this with any other intern. I just let them go, but I like you, so I'm going to let you know this.
I think he seems like the kind of person who would really think that he's doing them a favor. Like by him criticizing, saying, you don't got it. You kind of maybe want to try a different field. He's thinking that like, okay, well, Rory will take that and she will, change career paths and she'll do her thing and she'll be better for it because I am such a good man and I did what was right. And Rory obviously was completely crushed by it because she had never really heard that kind of feedback from anybody before, let alone somebody of the status of Mitchum.
And that
if I'm obsessing a lot over Mitchum, it's because I find the character incredibly fascinating and I'm super, super fascinated by this whole storyline. And I do want to understand this. So I'm bringing this up a lot because I'm not completely sure how, like, my feelings about this whole thing are not solidified. They are still shifting. I'm just to be clear on that.
Well, it goes back to like what Elle was saying about how Rory's never heard like harsh criticism like that because she's always been kind of sugar-coated her entire life, minus Paris in the beginning of the series. And that kind of goes back to my argument where Rory's never heard the word no. And so whenever she hears that, the word no or harsh criticism, she kind of doesn't know what to do because she's always been sugar-coated and kind of babied and kind of told. It's like when you're a really bad singer and everyone else knows it, but your parents tell you that you're an amazing singer, so you go on American Idol and then Simon Cowell drills you into the ground, then you get upset because you've never heard that from anyone else because people don't want to hurt your feelings. And that's kind of what has been happening to Rory for the last 6 seasons, for the past 5 or so seasons, because no one wants to hurt her. And the fact that she was told that, and then even her grandparents didn't believe Lorelai when she told them, and things like that, it just like makes it even worse because like this whole thing has been decided because she was never told no and never been criticized until Mitchum. I hate his guts, but he had a point. His execution was horrible, but it just like, people need to be told no or given harsh criticism in order to grow in the world. If everyone was told, you're an amazing person, you're an amazing singer, you're a great writer, great actress, there would be a lot of faults in this world, which is why there's the harsh criticism.
Well, to go off of that, Tasha, like, you're right. Like, oh, sorry. I was just going to say that, like, Tasha is right there that, like, people don't usually tell Rory no, but it's because Rory does things for the authority figures in her life that, you know, they approve of. She reads a lot. She gets good grades. You know, she's a very sweet girl. You know, she definitely, like, stays within the line of, like, what people expect a kid to be. An exceptional kid to be. Like, even with Richard, he mentioned like how great she is and how wonderful she is, and he was talking about like her reading advanced literature at such a young age. Like, she was doing what they, you know, wanted her to do and then some, and that's why they wouldn't see her as like someone failing and stuff like that, because she is a really, you know, exceptional person. But, well, you know, she's not really told no because what does she do wrong that they don't?
One thing that I have this is a question for all of the parents here in the room. Who doesn't sort of like feel great pride in their child for the things that their child are good at? And why wouldn't you isn't it natural to see the things that your child is excelling at and then want them to feel that you see that and that you think that they're great? Is that dangerous? I'm actually asking as a new parent. As a new parent, is it problematic to like, you know, to have your child feel like they are super special?
I think that it's necessary to sort of foster the things that they're interested in and they're good at.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that you have to, you kind of have to make a balance with it. So if there are things that you see that they're not as good with or as good at, like, you should encourage them to be better or to practice or, you know, try to improve their skill in that. I don't think you should set them up with false confidence, but I don't think in this case that Rory was really, like, I don't think the people around her were telling her anything that they didn't truly believe.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting false confidence. I'm saying you see something that your child is really good at, like, is it, I mean, obviously you don't want to like, yeah, like, do you foster that? Do you make them feel like they are super, super special? Or would that create a sort of complex that could be dangerous later in their life when they realize out in the real world, lots of people are special at that?
I don't think that encouraging children like is a bad thing, but I have read from like a psychology standpoint that you're not meant to say things like, oh, you're so clever, you're so pretty, blah blah blah. You're meant to say like, oh, you worked really hard at that, you know, to sort of like reinforce the idea that working hard at things is better than like your innate talents or whatever.
Yes, exactly, Megan. Because like with me working in the foster care system, I see people do this thing where they'll tell kids that, you know, don't really have either street smarts or like book smarts that they're really, really smart. And I'm like, okay, but the child already knows that they're not smart based off of like their environments. They're already cluing in on that. So what I would do is that I would tell them, you have the opportunity to do this. Like, you're so good at doing this. Like, I'll focus on the specific things, and that actually helps them a lot more. Like, I was able to get a kid that was illiterate to be able to read, you know, at his grade level. And he was like, I think at 4th or 5th grade at the time, within like, I think a year span, because of that encouraging and that focus of like what he was doing at that time, instead of him so worried about his environment and stuff. Because so many people were telling him that he was clever and smart and stuff, you know, for random reasons, but they weren't really helping him out. So I think like it is good to encourage your kids. It's like you should 100% encourage your kids. In this situation with Rory Gilmore, that wasn't a bad thing at all. They were proud of her and happy for her because she was doing exactly what was expected at school. She was doing what was expected at school. She was pretty much like a mini-me for Lorelai, you know, throughout Stars Hollow and stuff. She had wonderful communication skills with other people, wonderful social skills with other people, and was exceptionally smart. She is exceptional in that regard. But when it comes to going into her career, going into what she wants her dream job to be, like a foreign correspondent and things like that, when Mitchell said you don't got it, that's not surprising, because what has Rory done to show that she's ready to be a foreign correspondent? What has Rory done to show that she's ready to be a journalist at that time? She's done a lot of things with like school newspapers and stuff like that, because it's right there. But even in the examples of internships, Doyle got an internship last summer. Rory went to Europe for 2 months, you know, and then when the summer was about to come in again, she took an internship that Mitchum gave her instead of go out and do it. This is what I say back in the previous episodes when I say that Paris is a wonderful competitor to Rory because she pushes Rory to do like things out of her comfort zone, out of her element. And when Mitchell said that she don't got it, that makes sense, because when you want to be like that type of journalist, you definitely have to be out of your element a lot of the time. And all of these things that Richard and Emily and Lorelai and the whole town have congratulated her for hasn't really been about things that push her out of her element. So with what you were saying about Mitchum just firing her, not telling her that she don't got it, it's like, okay, yeah, but she's still gonna get kind of coddled in a way and still be expected to be this wonderful foreign correspondent like Christiane Amanpour. It makes it unrealistic, and it's enabling and continuing to push her into a direction that she's probably not ready for.
Yeah, but then that suggests that maybe there was that suggests then that Mitchum was actually potentially aware that he was helping her to get to be a Christiane Amanpour faster than she would have, meaning that he may actually have seen something that may have actually seen potential there, because what you're saying, you're painting Mitchum as the type of guy who Rory has always needed. And, you know, because she wasn't getting it in those terms, and because she wasn't getting it those terms, and had she not gotten in those terms, she may want to be this incredible foreign correspondent, but she never will be. At least now she may actually be on the path towards that if she can break through whatever's going on with her now. And if that's the case, then potentially Mitchum understands that, which means that that speech may have been a bit of, I don't want to say a lie, but that there may have not, it may not have been completely honest.
I don't
Well,
think
he did
did
say
that
he could be wrong.
I know you
I
keep
think he
bringing
did
that up, but I
that,
feel like there's more. I feel like it's true that he doesn't really, that line is a throwaway line. You know, either he totally believes it, in which case, what's the need to even say it, or he doesn't believe it and he's doing what you're saying, which is he's giving her the best advice or the best parenting that she could have ever gotten in her entire life.
Oh, no. I'm not saying
think-
that.
no,
Whoa,
I
I'm not
think
saying
he
that.
meant it. I think he meant that I have been wrong before, and it was his way of pushing her and encouraging her to get out there and try harder and get it. Go for it.
Here's the thing
Exactly.
though.
Mhm.
Okay. I understand that he didn't see necessarily certain drives that he feels like should have been seen. But she was there a week. What 20-year-old gets their first internship and is like on point from day one?
See,
Like,
Mandy,
there
Yeah.
aren't
I think it was
many,
more than
but
a week, though.
also,
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily need to be on day one though. Like,
but also I don't have a problem with his criticisms of her. My problem lies in he didn't give her any feedback to improve herself. Like, even if she didn't have it then, that doesn't mean that she never will, but you never tell her what it is. You're just basically saying, oh, well, you're never going to make it in this industry, but I'm not going to tell you why. You're going to have to figure it out. I'm not going to do anything to help you improve yourself. And I just don't think that, as somebody who hires interns, I don't think that that is a good way to conduct business. I don't think like you should consider yourself a mentor of, like, you know, young people and then not be willing to help them improve on the aspects that they need to improve.
Maybe
So
he
I have a
thinks-
question.
Maybe he thinks that it won't work on her. Maybe he thinks that her life has been full of people giving her feedback and her taking the feedback to help adjust herself, and it's just created the person that she is here, which he doesn't think is the person that she needs to be a correspondent. So he may think the best way is give no feedback, let you figure this out for yourself.
Hey guys, Sabrina's been flashing and she's been
Is it-
wanting to talk.
Sabrina,
Is it
Oh,
possible?
hi. Yeah, I just wanted to say, because of Carl said something about, what has Rory ever done to indicate, that she would be a good journalist.
She's
then
done a lot.
Yeah, I mean, that just got me thinking about how the story that she actually chased down most thoroughly was the Life and Death Brigade, but that didn't seem to be, I guess, she didn't really understand that she liked Logan at that point, but I kind of felt that she was kind of, whether she knew it or not, driven by, Logan in that regard. Like, it was a challenge because of, how intriguing he was as a person. And I always get the sense that she's very much driven externally by other people like Paris and like Logan. And so I don't know that, maybe this is something that develops over time, but when you're a journalist, and, I've worked, in journalism before, not really my area of interest. I'm more interested in like media theory. But you really have to, it's like very hard, and you have to be driven by the stories. So I don't know. I don't know if she's necessarily cut out to be the type of journalist she wants to be in that regard.
Look at that.
but I think that
Look at the material.
point there. I think that your point there at the beginning though is that, like, she, when she started getting super fascinated with the Life and Death Brigade and wanted to learn more and whatnot, and that was before she had any feelings for Logan, she was absolutely exhibiting all of the characteristics of a great reporter. She was confronting him about it. She totally had a strategic plan to get more information, whether he wanted to give it to her or not. She was absolutely, it was not until she started getting pulled in to him personally that she started to lose any interest in that whole story.
Is it also possible that when Mitchum was coming up the ranks, because I can't see his Logan's grandfather giving him the keys to the kingdom, that he had to work the same way and had to, this is how I was brought up, so I'm going to do the same for you, and I'm not going to give a lot of feedback. That's how some people are. That you start at the bottom, you work your way up, and no one really helps you figure it out.
What about the idea that Sylvia, I see you flashing there at the bottom, so I'm going to let you speak after I just say this one little bit here. But now, Sabrina, you got me thinking about this whole Life and Death Brigade story that she was doing, and I'm thinking to myself, man, if she had just stuck to that, if she had not gotten invested at all in Logan, she had just kept her feelings completely neutral, and she had just spent her time digging as deep as she could into that whole thing, into what it is now, what it's been in the past, to where its origins, all that kind of stuff. She could have written an absolutely incredible piece, and I think she probably would have written an incredible piece because she's a good writer. And what if Mitchum had read that?
Yeah.
How would he have felt? How would he have personally felt? A society that he probably has some connection to and strong feelings about, being exposed like that. And how would he have felt about her as a reporter in general? I don't know.
Yeah, but also that's why Lorelai's pissed, because she didn't just observe the crazy and write about it and all that stuff. Instead, she joined the group, she joined that side. So that was the moment. It's a great thing to think about. What if she had actually just wrote the piece, but she didn't write? I mean, she joined it. She became the subject.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, no. I'm certainly not suggesting. Yeah, I'm just sort of suggesting a what if. I totally get how the very fact that she didn't go deep into that piece tells us something very important about Rory, that I'm sort of starting to realize right now, just in this discussion. But the way that it certainly began with this reporter looking to didn't feel like an assistant, didn't feel like a party planner. That felt, and she was doing some very interesting things with that story, the way that she confronted Logan, it really was once she started to get, her feelings started to get involved. That's when things started to derail for her. Sylvia, you wanted to say something?
Hi, yes, I did. I just wanted to point out that years ago, when Rory was in the car with Jess the night that she was to be tutoring him, where she ran into the bench in front of Dosie's, he had commented when she shared that she wanted to be a reporter like Christiane Amanpour. He said he was I can't remember exactly the comment that he made, but he couldn't see her in a war zone reporting, and she was just as shocked by his comments that night as she was when she received similar feedback from Hunsberger.
Wow, that's great.
It wasn't her first time hearing that.
Yeah, that is good feedback.
I brought that up
Or
a few
good
episodes ago, and I think it's I love that perspective. It's so interesting because, correct me if I'm wrong, anyone, I think it's the only other time we see someone directly challenge her, and she begins to spiral just as hard as I don't think she would have dropped out of Chilton, but you see this, she spirals and she kind of stares off into the distance and starts going, oh God, I hope I'm good enough. I've been dreaming about it my whole life. And he has to say to her, whoa, it's fine. You are good enough.
Exactly.
Come back. It's okay. Don't panic. Because I love that comparison so much, because you see how easy it is to make her spiral. And I'm not someone who agrees that Mitchum was right. I completely hate the guy. Wait, I'll just wait for Coral. No? Okay.
No,
Was right.
things are clicking. The math is mathing, so. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly, friend. Yeah, I don't agree that it was right of him to do it, but you can see from the past just how easy it is to set her into a spiral of doubt of herself.
I mean, ultimately, for me, it's like I just don't. I can't really see people as like binary, like one thing or the other, and that's it. Like, I think that we're all sort of on a journey, and that dreams can absolutely be manifested, and you can grow to be great, and and that there are masters who sort of just sort of have it in their 20s, and some masters that develop it in their 60s and 70s. And so for me, like, I want to believe that Rory can be the great, important, reporter that she dreams of being. But I'm seeing more and more some of the things that some of the challenges to that journey that she has that come from herself. I'm seeing that a little bit more now.
I'm glad to.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Sabrina.
I was just gonna say, I guess I'm wondering, where that dream even comes from. If that's something like this happened to me when I was growing up quite a bit. You set yourself on something, and you don't necessarily know what it's like to do that job, but you go through life. Like my best friend was gonna be an architect her whole life. She's going to be an architect. She went to architecture school, and now, she's a teacher and an editor. And people are always saying, oh, well, you're not using your degree. But she's like, well, I grew up, I decided that I wanted to do something else. I got into it, and it wasn't what I thought it would be. And I kind of wonder, if people are kind of keeping Rory on the line, and if she's keeping herself on the line for something that, maybe she would be a different kind of journalist. Maybe she should work in another part of media. Maybe she should do something else. I think that's another question, but I wonder if we're all kind of like pushing her a little too hard on this like foreign correspondent thing, or if it's a good idea for someone to say, you need to be a foreign correspondent because you said that this is what you're going to do. Like, you wanted to be Christian Amanpour when you were 16 years old. So now that's what you're going to do.
On that note, I
agree
sorry,
with
go on,
that.
guys. Oh, sorry, I'm still unmuted. I was just going to say, to the people who we have here who haven't seen it at this point, just having watched season 6, episode 5, do you think Rory's going to be a foreign correspondent in the revival?
I don't
John,
know,
you've
but
seen
I can say
episode 1 of the revival, though, right?
I've seen episode 1 of the revival, but I can't really remember. I remember that she's I want to say that she's in journalism, that she is in journalism or something. So I think that she's in journalism, and I remember something that was something related to foreign something.
Don't try to remember spoilers, John.
Yeah,
Oh,
or
okay,
what,
yeah.
Forget it all.
what would she think? She hasn't seen the
I mean, I
revival.
was, I was not deeply paying attention to the story because I just didn't really know how any of it had anything to do with anything. So, I just don't really remember much. But I do seem to remember that she's in journalism. Maybe I'm wrong, but to answer your question though, is that I don't totally know for sure if she's like, well, I definitely don't remember any like scenes with Rory like running around with like a Kevlar vest on in like, in like Afghanistan or something. Like so I know that that's probably not in the cards for her in the first episode of the revival. But I think it's more important, like, what I want from the character. So what I'm hoping is that we end with her finding some peace with whatever she's doing you know, in the revival. And I think that like Sabrina makes a really good point, which is, you know, the dreams that you have as a young person don't always turn into what you end up loving and feeling is your calling later in your life. I mean, I'm a good example. You know, I went to theater school. I went to you know, a very prestigious acting conservatory. I, you know, wanted to be an actor through most of high school. And, you know, and I did that for many years, for you know, professionally for over a decade. And, you know, and if you combine school, almost 20 years of that. And then at a certain point, I realized that I didn't enjoy it, and that I didn't enjoy it as much as other aspects of storytelling. And, you know, but what I also realized was that what I did want to be doing, which is a lot of the stuff that I'm doing now, which includes Remarcus and includes a lot of the writing stuff that I do, I actually realized how similar it was to the things that I loved so much about being an actor. I felt like just being a storyteller and character and understanding psychology and all of that kind of stuff. It still exists there for me in this new part. So, you know, shifting careers doesn't necessarily mean that like that part of the dream, right? So in Sabrina's example, architect now to like teacher, like there may actually be some crossover, whether that, you know, that person really is aware of it or not, as to why those two things, you know, are appealing. Perhaps they bring some of the, you know, design architectural sensibility to the world of education and whatnot. I don't know, but I think that can exist too. So if Rory were to find something like that in the revival, then I would be satisfied. I don't need her to be running around in a war zone and being like this, like, you know, world famous reporter for me to be satisfied with her journey.
Hey, John.
Yeah.
Can we kind of talk about how Lorelai looked like she wanted to call Rory? Yeah. I think it was in not this episode, but the episode prior.
Yeah, the previous episode.
She was about to call Rory and her number was disconnected.
Yeah.
Well, she didn't about to call Rory. She called Rory and her number wasn't
Can I
connected.
ask a question first?
Yes.
Where's Nick? What happened to Nick?
He probably had to
dropped
go.
down.
No, he's gone.
You can leave quietly. So he must have left quietly. But I'm gonna chat with him later and talk to him about how we can get Liz to join us for at least one before the end of all of this. So don't worry, that's still on my plate.
No, it wasn't that. It's just I looked over. I was writing, and I look over, and I see Sandra next to you, and I'm like, where'd Nick go? He left. Did I miss something?
Well, I think that's one of the nice things about this is that you can, if you need to get going, you don't have to announce to the group that you're going. You can just like leave quietly, and everyone totally gets that. And I want our guests to feel the same way, you know, because then I think that if they feel like there's no super pressure in them having to go, then they'll also feel no pressure about just joining when they've got a chance. Which was what happened today, which I loved.
It wasn't that. It was just, I just thought I missed something.
Oh, no.
Oh, John, he's in episode 18, if you're thinking about doing an official return of Nick as well.
Yeah,
I think he said he would come in.
Yeah, he actually said he would do that. You know, I could see him popping in again, like, you know,
Should
just
making
on
an
his own.
RSVP for 18.
What?
Was that
Making an
ASMR?
RSVP for us. For 18.
That's what I meant. If you had him on as an official guest and you did one of the RSVP couches for episode 18.
Oh, we don't call them RSVP couches. We call them reservations.
Okay, reservations. That's right.
Slightly different because I'm gonna have to change some of that. I'm gonna have to change some of that nomenclature because obviously people are getting confused by those two things. Yeah, don't worry. Nick's gonna be back, and
personally,
he's a fan of the show. So like, I don't even feel like that's, you know, I feel like Nick will come back because he wants to actually watch it with people who are fans like he is. So, That's fun. What I need to get on is Eris. I cannot forget that. I need to get Eris in on some of his big episodes coming up, and I feel like there are some others that I want to get in before this is all said and done.
What about Mrs.
Well, it won't be
Kim?
all said and done. We're gonna keep. I mean, just so you know, it's not gonna be like once we finish this. It's not like the Gilmore Girls world in the app is going to go away. It's still going to be there, and we're going to still do events within it, and there will be still watch throughs and all of that stuff, and opportunities for special guests to join those and whatnot. But I do want this first one to really crackle. So if we can get Liz, that would be amazing. And no, Tasha, I do not have any connections to Milo.
I wasn't saying just you.
No.
I was saying maybe Nick had it too. I mean, but hey, the girl can dream, can't she?
What about so how awkward was I was gonna say how awkward was that baptism? I've been kind of waiting for us to go back to that cut from the previous one.
Oh,
because
please.
so
Yes.
painful.
That
That was
was-
super awkward.
That was awkward. By the way,
Awkward and funny in two
kernels will be withering away in 3 minutes. So grab your kernels if you haven't already. That was really uncomfortable. Just in general, like all of this stuff. It really, I started to realize in this episode why season 6 would not be a favorite, because going back to this whole theory that I have that like fandoms converge around worlds that they want to live in, right? That they return to that world. They don't return to the story, they return to the world, right? And they live in that world with other fans. This is the least enjoyable part of the world to live in because it's the most uncomfortable part of the world to live in. Whereas there are other seasons that are much more enjoyable to live in that part of the world and to rewatch that part because you're back in Stars Hollow, you're spending time with the people that you love. Whereas here, you have to spend time dealing with two people who love each other and can't break this wall down, not even when they're like godparents to Suki's kids.
I kind of felt like Rory wanted to, like, we see her park her car, get out. She looks happy to be there. And as she's approaching the church, she looks really nervous. But Lorelai seems to be annoyed in a way and awkward because she is upset about the phone number being disconnected, not having Rory's new number. So it kind of seems like it's almost like Lorelai's not quite ready because she wants to be angry about that, but Rory maybe wanted to try to, but then kind of takes the defensive on the number thing or whatever.
Yeah, I suppose if you think that must have been such a sorry, go on.
I'm sorry. Tiffany had something to say a little while ago. She was flashing.
It was on a different subject. It was just on the where with Richard. I was just thinking about how this is the second time that we heard, how Richard was in his businesses thrown in his face. And I think that, he's starting to see some of the pieces of society that Lorelai hated, but he was immune to it because he was part of it. And now he's kind of starting to see the different pieces come back. And that was all I was going to say.
That's a good one.
That is really good. I'm glad you got to say it.
Yeah, me too.
Sure was.
I think just on the phone topic, it really hits me just how much of a gut punch that must have been. Because if you think Lorelai is so set in her plan of silent treatment until Rory falls in line, and for her to have picked up the phone and called, that must have been on her part such a huge sacrifice because she misses her daughter so much. She's in that much pain. So to have made that choice and decided I'm going to be the one who gives in, and then hear, oh, this number has been disconnected. It's not only a gut punch in the sense of, oh, well, Rory's changed numbers and I somehow didn't know when I always would have known, but in the sense that she was giving in. She was going to be the bigger person as such and say, I will be the one to reconnect. And it was just taken from her, and she doesn't know her daughter well enough to know that she didn't have that option anymore.
Yeah. Something that always got to me about this episode too is I just find it so rude when Lorelai and Rory walk out of Suki's children's baptism. Like it's
Yeah.
Suki's moment. And I just found it very selfish of the two of them to have that conversation right then. It just bugs me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's just I think that I get the whole thing about it being like, for Lorelai, it being, partly about being the bigger person here and taking that first step and that being kind of robbed from her. But for me, I think it's just way more this, the fact that she's seeing how much Rory it just doesn't really want her to be a part of this new life that she's forming. Like the new number feels like it's connected to the new life, and I don't want you in that. And so in that way, it really feels like a breakup or a divorce. It really feels like all the pain that you would go through in losing this person, like really like what feels like a permanent loss of somebody, like a death almost.
Do you think she did that though because Lorelai didn't tell Rory that she and Luke got engaged? Do you think it was more of Rory felt hurt and so she wasn't ready to talk to her mom yet because she found out about Luke and Lorelai from Luke? And it's just like this, like, I don't know, vicious circle of getting mad back and forth at each other, and they just aren't finding a place to make back up again.
Maybe so. I mean, I could certainly see that. I definitely think it's weird. I think it's weird now, and maybe wasn't as weird back then, but it's still a little weird that people change their phone numbers. I feel like there's no really great reason to change your phone number unless like you're somebody who's been getting like horribly harassed or there's some sort of security thing or whatnot. Like,
yeah,
it's just
I
not
haven't changed my
necessary
phone number
anymore.
in 4 years.
Well, I've
It's
never.
just it's a pain. It's a real pain in the butt. So the fact that she did that she went out of her way to change her phone number, seems like she did it purposefully. And the only way that she would do that, reason she'd do that I would imagine would be to spite Lorelai in some way.
I remember back then they used to charge you for changing your number.
Oh yeah.
Or not for a key. Like if you were like getting a new phone, they would charge you to keep your number. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I remember
if you changed
like
something.
like Verizon or AT&T or whatever, they would, if you wanted to keep it, there was a charge to keep your number or something.
Isn't it also possible that if, like back then, at least for me, if you changed your job, sometimes the phone number belongs to your job, so they weren't willing to let you change it? I know that's the case with my husband's, that if he leaves where he is, even though he's had the same phone number for 20 years, they're going to make him give it back to them.
I don't know, but in Rory's case, I don't think that would have applied. I mean, I think that she, maybe the paying the extra thing, although that seems like, why would you do that? Like, why wouldn't she pay? She's got money to pay it, and it's just a pain in the butt when you have to like suddenly let everybody know that you have a new number. And so just the fact that she would do that tells me she doesn't care about that, and especially doesn't care about it as it relates to her own mom, who that the series up until then has been largely about these two calling each other, and constant communication and whatnot. So it seems deliberate. If you want to try and figure out like what specifically, aside from just the general anger that they have towards each other, that might like instigate a deliberate action like that, I think that that not telling her about the engagement seems like a pretty obvious one.
Yeah, it's definitely makes for some dramatic television this season so far.
Who loves this season? Like, who would say that this is like in their top 2 seasons of the series? Oh, whoa!
Nick Holmes, he said it. Nick said this is his favorite season.
I wouldn't put it in the top
Wow.
2, but I think it's a very solid season. Like, I do think it's very painful, but in the same ways you do, John, I enjoy tension. I enjoy not quite happiness all the
So,
time because it feels so much
it's
more rewarding.
it's so far to me, it's the most intense part. Like I said, the most intense part of the roller coaster. I get that you probably wouldn't want to just keep reliving that intense part of the roller coaster, but I'm so far. I mean, look, we're only 18 episodes into this season, and I'm already just absolutely loving it. I'm absolutely loving it. I have a feeling it will be in my top. I have a feeling, unless it really derails, like, writing wise, which I just don't think it is, because I don't think that that's why the fandom doesn't put it as high as some of the other seasons, because so far the writing is just rock solid, just absolutely rock solid. So I'm expecting to like it. I'm expecting to really like it.
Let's revisit
think
this after the
dramatically-
end of the season.
Yes,
Yeah, I
and
think-
I also have a feeling, that all is not good with Lorelai and Luke.
Okay, yes.
Let's.
Sorry,
why don't
Mandy.
we spend a few minutes talking about that? I'm gonna have to head out at 11 sharp. But I think that that's a good place for us to sort of spend some time. That whole camping thing.
It really feels like Lorelai doesn't understand Luke, which I think is the most
disagree
painful.
I disagree with all the opinions
Right.
that y'all were talking about during the episode, because I
So-
have had an issue with there have been times when I felt guilty, like my husband's doing more of what I want him to do rather than what he wants to do. And so I encourage him to, do the things that I know that he enjoys. And like, I've always been that way. I've never wanted somebody to feel obligated to spend all of their time with me. And I feel like in this instance, I feel like that Lorelai was basically saying, I don't want you to feel like I don't have consideration for the things that you enjoy.
And
I completely
I don't think
agree.
it was any more than
But the thing is that what we're seeing with what she did with encouraging him to camp and stuff like that, she's not really talking to him. And that's what we've seen in season 5 as well. And I mean, by the time of season 6, it just hurts me to see how this relationship is unfolding because of Lorelai not talking to Luke about a lot of things. The thing with Christopher, like what he has interest in and stuff like that, she didn't talk to him. She just was like, "Oh, go camping. Oh, go camping." Like, come on, Lorelai, talk to your man. Like, he's right there.
Luke
And
has
that's been the
like Lorelai.
I think her
camping as like being like forcing him to go, and like he has said, like I like hanging out with you.
Mhm.
Lorelai wouldn't have done that had she like not asked, or like had she like sat down and truly discussed it. I get where she's coming from, and I see the intentions, but it's executed poorly.
Yeah, the execution was terrible, but yeah, I think I like the way she puts it. She very simply says, well, you haven't done this thing that you enjoy since we've been together. And in her head, I can see that adding up to, you think you have to spend all your time doing what I like. And yeah, I do think her execution was poor, the kind of ordering, but I think by the end of the episode, when she says, okay, well, come on, we'll go back to Miss Patty's, and he goes, actually, no, I think I do want to go back out and go fishing. Yeah, I think it's very pure intentions there. Honestly, I do think that, especially in long-term relationships, it's good to encourage each other to keep your individual interests rather than all your time and interests being mutual.
Yeah, but I think that's a discussion that the two of them should sort of have. It shouldn't be sort of one person dictating what they feel the relationship needs to be. Because from his perspective, he's like, I've done tons of that throughout my life, and yeah, I like doing that, but right now I'm really into this. And she just didn't have a chance to even really hear that, because it was sort of like, this is the way it needs to be.
You know what, John? I like that point that you presented there. It's showing some consistency with Because like that's kind of the same thing you said about Mitchum, and now you're saying this for Lorelai and Luke. I like that consistency.
I need to dig a little deeper to know what you're talking about there. Explain.
Well, basically, like you said, like before you said, when it first happened, you were talking about how like, oh, Mitchum should have told Rory what to do to, you know, do better with her job. And then the same thing that you said, Lorelai should communicate with Luke, you know, about the relationship. You are actively advocating that in both of those situations, both of those people should have clearly communicated in an exceptional way, you know, what they were trying to convey to the other person. And that's consistency enough.
Okay, cool. That makes sense.
Yeah, I think like for me as a Luke and Lorelai fan, because I mean I'm cool with Luke. Like Luke cool. It's just it's really hard to watch in these first episodes of season 6. I mean, it really does feel like Lorelai doesn't talk to Luke in most of the relationship, and Luke is just going by with what Lorelai is doing and stuff, because he really does love her, and he has been fighting for her for almost a decade before they actually became, you know, boyfriend, girlfriend. So I'm not surprised at his actions and responses and just kind of like toting along and stuff to what Lorelai is doing. It just really upsets me that, you know, he wants to talk with her about things and she doesn't want to talk to him about things. It's like the whole thing with the Wedding Bell Blues and Christopher. It just feels like she hasn't learned her lesson, that she needs to communicate with her partner.
But I actually, and I feel like, because in the episode I specifically said that this commitment issues, that Lorelai has commitment issues, and I think that's what Mandy was getting at when she was saying I don't agree with these point of views, and that's fair. But I think that kind of sort of me-centric, you know, the way that I want it to be, I'm making all of the decisions, I and not listening to him. I think that that's all a part of the bad habits of a commitment phobe.
You could even take that back to the house situation when he wanted to buy the Twickham house, and then she finally agreed that they could, but yet she still didn't want to sell her house and she didn't want anybody else to live in it. Like almost she wanted to have a fallback in case something went wrong. And that's not really what she intended, but I think that's like in her, you know, for her being so young when she had to become an adult, she never has had a super stable long-term relationship. And so she probably doesn't really know how to fully commit.
Totally.
Even if she really wants to.
Yeah, I'm not faulting her for it. I'm just saying I'm seeing it how it is, and it makes me nervous for this relationship.
But I never really thought about it that way. That's what I mean. It's like all of a sudden I just realized, I'm like, I've never thought about that aspect of it with her.
That house, I mean, that's a great point. I hadn't even thought about the fact that with the house, but I think that plays right into it perfectly. You know, she doesn't want to totally let go.
Is it possible she's afraid that the rug's going to get pulled out from underneath her? Because that's a little bit how Emily and Richard have always been, is like it's this way or it's the highway. And so she's a little afraid that that's how she views relationships and use things, because she had to work for her house for so hard to get it.
Certainly, it's certainly the motivation of a lot of folks who are scared to get deep into a relationship, is the fear of being hurt, for sure.
And I would also think it would also be the take me as I am, and I may not be the proper society person. So she's a little afraid to let her true side show, or that, are you gonna chastise me because I'm not the proper society wife?
Yep.
I guess mainly what I've got to say about this thing is that about the whole Lorelai and Luke confrontation today was that, I mean, yes, she went about saying it the wrong way, but she was just trying to tell him, you know, hey, you know, I don't want you to sacrifice your time that you use to fish and camp and do the stuff that you enjoy just because of me, just because you want to do everything that I want to do. You know, I mean, but I also feel like, oh, shut up, stop it. Just because, but I also feel like maybe, you know, she could have like said, I'll go camping, you know, with you. You know, maybe we can go camping. Oh, Jesus.
What we should do is we should all change our profile pictures to our pets.
Yes,
except for Lee,
join us.
except for Lee and Carol. You have to switch yours to your real profile.
I don't have any pets right now.
Sandra, you need to change yours to a cardboard cutout of yourself.
I don't have one of those. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't have any pets, so I can't play along. By the way, fast talk tonight. Just a quick note before John.
Fast talk,
steps
everyone.
out.
Yeah, I'm actually heading out now. We have a fast talk tonight at 6 p.m. If you don't know what a fast talk is an event type in our Remarkist app or on our Remarkist platform community. That is a much more formal style event, more like a panel or a talk. Fast talks are kind of inspired by like TED Talks, I guess you would say. They have 4 speakers that have pitched the host on a topic that they want to spend about 5 minutes talking about. They prepare these speeches and people come just like a TED Talk. They come to just sit and listen. And then afterwards, the host brings some folks up onto the couch to chit chat with those speakers about what they talked about, dig a little deeper into some of the ideas that they were speaking on. And so that's tonight at 6 p.m. here in Remarkist. And I would encourage everyone to join for that because the last one was really, really cool. And I'm imagining that this one will be as well. You can also go into the Remarkist app, go into the event for that fast talk and see who's speaking. And you can see the name, the title of their talk, which will give you some idea of what that fast talk is going to be about. I'll actually just go through and tell you right now. Loretta is going to be speaking. The name of hers is Rory is like Pippi. So I'm guessing that we're going to be getting some talk that gives us a sort of comparison with Pippi Longstocking and Rory. Amanda Mandy in this room now has a talk that is simply titled "Without Words." That's pretty cryptic. We don't know what that's about. So I would encourage all of you to come and check that out. Elle, who's in this room or was in this room, is she still here? Elle? I think Elle left, but she was here earlier. She's got a talk that's called Miss Celine's Hollywood. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Celine character played by Alex Borstein, and she's going to, I guess, take us through her history with costuming Hollywood's elite, I guess. And then Shauna is doing a talk that's entitled "Where Was Brian?" And I'm imagining that she's going to dive deep into all of the possibilities for where Brian was in season 5 when the actor who played him was not being hired for many episodes that Todd was being hired for. It should be a lot of fun. Thank you all for joining me again, watching this with me. It's been a lot of fun. Aside from the fast talk, which I will be an attendee of tonight, I will be back tomorrow at 7 p.m. for episode 87.
Thank you, John.
Thank you,
Bye.
John.
Officially
Thank you. changed to me and my cat.